Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by Money Myron.
It's good to be back. Good to be back. I wanted to say thank you to all the people who reached out to me about my health concerns. I am still seizure-free. My lips tell me it's time to have another drink, but my girlfriend says no. So I'm also alcohol-free for the time being. So if I become a dick and say hateful things on the internet, that's why. So on with the show.
Yeah, man. I actually had some people reaching out to me about it. And, it's funny the things I got. It was somewhere between. I heard stroke. I heard like all kinds of things. So it was kind of. But as you guys can see, he's clearly back in the seat.
Yes.
What's the? Oh, yes. He's back in the saddle again.
It's a very comfortable saddle. It's a large man's gaming chair that I have.
There you heard it first. The quote of the show will be Myron likes to be saddled.
Yes.
So
yes, that'll be the questions you get next time.
Send those questions, and I can get all that video footage over on our YouTube channel at youtube.com.
Yes. And OnlyFans.
Yeah. There's always our OnlyFans as well. Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. Just search it, or Tapped Out Podcast Network. Just search that right there in that window, and you'll find us over at the YouTube channel. Somebody asked me, like, hey, if I'm a podcast listener, why would I want to check out the YouTube show? Well, that's because over on the YouTube channel, we actually have other things other than wrestling, by the way.
Yes.
I've got something actually going up today, Myron, that you'll actually get a kick out of. Friend of the show, author MB Mooney, he ranked his Christmas movies. And he did his top 25 Christmas movies. And I actually he had it in two parts, and I've put it into one video, and that's going to go up today as we record. So if you would already hear this by the time the show comes out, you would have seen it on our YouTube channel. So yeah, do that in your head.
I have a Christmas present I did not get out in time for Mr. MB Mooney. I did one of those 23andMe for him. I have traced back a relative of his, Jeff Mooney from Monroe. I will be arranging a meet and greet together so they can get to know each other.
That's kind of a scary thought. That's a scary thought for him. So
yes.
Yeah, well, listen, we don't have any 23andMe sponsorships, but we always have our good friends over at AG1.
Yes.
You're going to need a smaller cabinet, because now you can take all those supplements you're taking, or not taking, and replace them with this. AG1 by Athletic Greens brings 75 vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, probiotics, and adaptogens together in one place. It might just be the most comprehensive and convenient nutritional regimen on the planet. Immunity supporting, recovery enhancing, digestion improving, energy lifting. Made to the strictest quality standards. Made New Zealand. Made for just about everybody.
That's right, man. If you're trying to live that healthy lifestyle and you want to get all of that stuff right there, one drink, one day, boom, AG1 every morning. Make that, dump the powder in, mix it up, boom, kill it. It's a great way to start the day. But Myron, let's start off the show. Right. Mm-hmm. This is where we're going to.
We got this is a unique concept, and this is something we've been talking about. The Bloodline have unified all the titles. Is it time to split them? How do you split them?
I think look, we've discussed this in the past about how, because remember when we booked Mania, I said I would put Cody night 1 versus Roman for the WWE Championship, and I would put Rock night 2, and dude, that was weeks ago that we did. I mean, it might even be more than that. It's been a while. Actually, was that the Thanksgiving episode?
Might have been. Yes.
So that was the Thanksgiving episode, I believe. We recorded it out of cycle. That's kind of why it's throwing me off. I can't remember exactly how many weeks it was. But now comes the logic of how do you get there? Because remember, I was like, I don't know how we get there, blah, blah, blah. Originally, we thought like, hey, Cody wins the Rumble, but then how do you get Rock? And, but the more I've thought about it, you got two matches that set up a title match, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could say you got the Rumble and you've got Elimination Chamber. Now, for those who are keeping score, originally it was like, hey, Cody should win the Rumble. Okay, Rock ain't winning no Elimination Chamber.
Rock's not going in the Elimination Chamber.
Correct. So my point now would be I would flip that and say have Rock come out at number 30, eliminate a couple guys, probably Bloodline members maybe, something to that effect. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
And then have Cody, because look, if if Cody, I know this sounds terrible to say, saying that The Rock wouldn't earn it by winning the Rumble if he came in at 30. Cody strikes me as the guy who would want to earn it, and to earn it, it's like winning a match like Elimination Chamber, right?
Okay, fair enough.
So that kind of seems more down his alley, in my opinion. And then so you got two guys who have, you know, and they've earned title shots. I think the last thing either one of those guys wants is a 3. And now, by the way, this is in character when I say that they don't want a triple threat match for the titles, because they want to beat Roman 1-on-1, mano a mano. Does that, you know what I'm saying?
Makes sense. Good for the whole storyline. Good for your character development. You say Cody beats him night 1 off his Elimination Chamber. Cody comes back. Cody's a champion, one of the champions now. And then night 2, he has to face The Rock for the second belt.
Yeah. So that was where I was at originally. But the more and more I think about it, I am starting to waffle on this. Because here's what I'm wondering. Do you put Rock versus Roman on night 1? Because think about you could crush a Saturday night with Rock Rock versus Roman on night 1. Roman defeats The Rock, and let's say it's a hard fought, and then that way, if he loses night 2 to Cody, it serves 2 purposes. One, there's your excuse of why he lost. He had my other argument when I had it flip-flopped was he overlooked Cody and underestimated Cody because he was looking forward to Rock on Sunday. The other way would be he has a hard-fought battle on Saturday with Rock, and that's why he loses. That's his excuse. But the second thing that it serves is as you go off of WrestleMania on night 2, you have Cody holding that title up, like moving your champion, that champion, he's over. Like helping to elevate him off of that. That's your parting shot of WrestleMania.
Okay. Fantasy booking wheels have turned in my head. I get what you're saying. I think the best booking is lose to The Rock on... No. Beat The Rock on night 1, lose to Cody night 2.
Right.
That's your better angle.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I had it originally, my thought process was flip-flopped because then you got Roman standing tall at the end of night 2. But is the picture the fans want to see, is it Cody holding up that? Because here's my only ask. This is a weird... if you'd have asked me this a few months ago, I don't know that I answer it this way. If Roman loses to Cody, is there any fear whatsoever that he's booed? That the fans are so in love with Roman right now that if he loses to Cody, is he booed? And Roman's...
I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you flat out from someone who has been observing this and enjoying it, you better not take that Smackdown belt off of him. Okay? Because on Smackdown, he's the king. Roman Reigns on Smackdown is entertaining. Roman Reigns on Smackdown is over. Roman Reigns on Smackdown with the Bloodline and Paul Heyman and Sammy. Dude, that gimmick is so over. It is loved. People can't get enough of that. So I'd have to give him the Raw title, whichever one that's going to be, and how that works out. But the SmackDown, I would want to keep the SmackDown on him. Raw, I think you could get away with taking off of him, but SmackDown, no.
Well, there's also been a little scuttlebutt I've read that if now listen, I don't think it's going to happen because of the sheer branding aspect of it. But there was talks of what if Cody wins that Raw title and he brings back the Winged Eagle title, because that's what he loves so much. He's an old school traditions guy. How cool would it be to see Cody, even if it was for one night, he strolls out on TV and just sporting that Winged Eagle, I would argue that he goes back, he strolls out there, because remember the picture they showed when he returned was Dusty holding that old WWF title up. How cool would it be to come out with that belt, even if it's for one night, just to say, Dad, I did it for you, buddy. See, I just choked you up and you didn't see that coming.
No. You should. I mean, there was some stuff in the notes that kind of hinted, but you didn't have to go like that, man. You didn't have to. You didn't have to. You didn't have to do that to me, brother.
Yeah.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, so that would be cool. So that's the way I'm thinking about it. I've waffled over the months. By the way, it's just for the record, it won't be the only thing we ever waffle on because as we think and we evolve and we grow, your opinion should change.
Yes.
Now I'm really going to throw you because you know whose opinion doesn't change a whole lot, Myron? I'm going to flip back on the notes. That would be like Vince Russo, Jim Cornette. I told you I was going to flip-flop these two topics, and I changed my mind based on that segue, by the way.
Oh, yeah, baby.
So, by the way, full disclaimer here, I am in no way, shape, or form saying that these guys don't have valid points and viewpoints because I have nothing but respect for both of these guys, particularly. Now, because we're not addressing just these two guys.
Because I'm a Cornette. I'm a total Cornette mark. So I can't have respect for Russo. It's in this thing.
Listen, I always tell people, like, you can choose a side. Oh, I know.
Robert, cult of Cornette. Yes.
I think they both made contributions over the years. I do. And I think people that pick a side and say the other one didn't do anything.
No, I got to give you that. Yes.
But what I'm saying lately is that, like, I've seen things like Russo saying the John Cena thing's a waste, or yeah, exactly, yeah. But even some of the Cornette stuff, the reason, what I mean by like where I have a little pushback for the two of them, I just feel like some of their viewpoints are coming from, Myron, think of it this way. Some of the things you did in your, in the pharmacy world 20 years ago, it's obsolete thinking, correct?
Oh, totally obsolete thinking now. And I get it. I get the fact that Cornette booked mainly in the South. And he booked that regional style that was popular with me growing up, that I was familiar with. Russo booked that spectacular Monday Night Wars craziness spectacle booking. That could be popular with me at the one time too. Neither one of those bookings is what you're booking now. Bischoff booked for business. Bischoff understands business, but I don't think Bischoff could book right now. I just think he could probably be more adaptable because he would change based on the nature of what he needed to change to in order to make money. I think Russo and Cornette might tend to stick more towards what they knew at the expense of profitability.
Well, I mean, think about it. Russo, honestly, was a TV guy.
Yes.
Everything was booked for television because he was a ratings guy. Like that's what, in the era he was in, they were chasing TV ratings. So it was shock and awe. It was swerves, bro, for TV and things like. So everything was TV centric. Like you said, Cornette was a regional, but he was in the era where it was a lot of house show. It wasn't television centric. I'm not saying he can't book for TV, guys. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying the mindset's hard to escape. Like the root of what we are booking for, whatever. Like, and I'm talking about from my own personal business standpoints. Like as things evolve, you have to change. Now it's more of a, like the business model in general is not the same. Like the money that, like when people talk about the house show, like, hey, house shows can be, a money maker for you. You can generate revenue. I mean, think about this. Somebody was like, oh, well, ticket sales. There's also merch sales, by the way, guys, at these events and things like that. There's ways to make money there.
They're running in Atlanta tonight. Wish I could be there.
Yeah.
Running a house show.
Well, hey, shout out to Patrick. We could have been.
Thanks, bro. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we love it. We appreciate you, Patrick. We just got so much stuff going on that no way we could, I couldn't anyway. I couldn't pull it off.
I'm getting 4 teeth pulled. I'm getting the smile. The smile is coming back.
There you go. But like I said, I'm just saying, like, listen, I think it's a global viewpoint, how to grow, like, blah, blah, blah. And some of it's kind of coming to what I'm talking about here is booking towards wrestling. And then there's booking, I think, from a global and a lot of people are like, I get it in the wrestling world. That's not popular. And I think that's your Cornettes and your Russo, they're all have their different things. And like I said, I respect their opinions. I just don't have to agree with them.
Well, you also have to realize now in 2020, and 22 and 2023. The WWE is a global product. It's not like when we were watching the Monday Night Wars when it was a American product. It's not like when we were watching as kids when it was a regional product. And if you were lucky, if you had cable, you had a product, that you could see from other regions. I didn't. I had regional product, and I had a syndicated show from WWE. That was wrestling. It's global now. When they have a pay-per-view, those pay-per-views sometimes come from Saudi Arabia. Okay? They're constantly making a product that has to sell in other places. So you're booking a global product. You're booking something that people will want to pick up anywhere. So sometimes things have to change. Sometimes things you might have to dial back an American appeal to pick back an appeal up in other countries just for the grand product.
Myron, how many times, and this is going, by the way, this is going to be my argument of the difference between AEW and WWE right now. And I think it's a pretty simple when you actually think about it. AEW is booking a wrestling company. WWE is booking a TV show that happens to be about wrestling.
Yes, they're booking an entertainment company.
And that, by the way, if you don't believe me, I believe at the core that's where the gap is. That's your 950 to 1 million viewers and 1.5 to 2.2 million that, Raw/SmackDown draw. By the way, has anybody even noticed that, I hate to be this guy, NXT was at like 750, 760 or whatever it was last week. They're climbing. In the era of this is dog shit, NXT, they're creeping back. And by the way, I watched the product. There's not look, I get it. They brought, the New Day back down. They're the champion. But they're doing some kind of, that kind of stuff. But overall, and this is not an insult to anybody down there, there's a lot of really young talents that are not established names.
Yep.
And by the way, one of the biggest, is condemnation a word? Anyway,
we can use it
if NXT catches Dynamite, think about that. And we're not talking next week. It could be months. But if NXT catches Dynamite in the ratings, I don't want to hear shit about it. I don't want to hear anything about ratings from Dynamite fans, including myself, by the way, because I'm a Dynamite fan. But that's just that would be a tough pill to swallow.
Well, I mean, you got to realize we're watching the New Day working with guys we saw in Monroe, Georgia a year ago, Nick. Okay, on NXT. They're developing their talent. They're continually working to get the new guys up there. Okay, they're taking these people, and they got Booker T's school, and they've got NXT, and they've got the Performance Center, and they've got all this development WWE is doing to put a better product out there. I think stronger base, better product, in my opinion. So it's going to catch them, dude. I think it's going to continue to improve. I think it's going to be what it was back when it was doing real great, back before it turned pink and purple, back when it was black and gold, man.
But it's still purple and yellow and all that stuff. So I listen, I get it, man. I totally.
Regal's back.
He'll be there in January, right? I think it's when he officially can come back or whatever. But hey, look, I wanted to address something. I got some emails and stuff that people thought for some reason, like, I'm not even sure how this happened. Like my take on Sasha Banks, that they, about not paying her, that they thought I was crapping on her. And I'm like, I think that is so far off the mark. And maybe if it came off that way, that's not what I meant, because I think she's going to absolutely steal the show at Wrestle Kingdom. I think, look, my take always is about Sasha Banks is there are better, not many, but in Japan, some will argue, right? There's better wrestlers over in Japan, the women wrestlers. And I agree. I might agree with that. I'd love for you to show me who they are, but I might agree with that. But there ain't nobody on that show that's going to outshine, Sasha Banks on that Wrestle Kingdom show, because she's a freaking star.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the reason I wanted to address that, Myron, is because now there's the rumors of like, oh, she's coming to AEW and Tony Khan's keeping it a secret and blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying, like, listen, if she goes there, she's taking the top spot from day one because there ain't nobody, and I mean anybody on that roster. No, look, by the way, it's not a shot or a knock at anybody that's there. I just think she immediately is the biggest star on the women's roster.
Well, because Sasha Banks is as close to complete package women wrestlers you can get. And they don't have that in AEW, in my opinion. And I think that's more than just my opinion. I think that's probably the truth. You're going to go with people that, let's see how we phrase this correctly, that might have her star draw. Okay? Jade Cargill might have some of her star draw. Somebody might have some of her talent. Somebody might have some of this. Somebody might have some of that and that. I don't think anybody puts it together the way she puts it all together. She's a natural in the ring. She's a natural outside the ring. She's got that, when she does that with the glasses on.
She's got the swag. She got swag.
Yeah, and she's that talent. She's a complete package. She's one of the original 4 horsewomen. She'll be back in WWE one day. It's just the way it works. Yeah. But I mean, in AEW, I think she might be the one that breaks some of the camel's back, to be honest with you. She's going to cause problems because there's going to be people there that's been there since day one who are not going to be in her ballpark. And they're going to get jealous. But she's just that damn good.
I think Britt could probably run with her a little bit, but I don't know. Here's the thing that people... This is that AEW WWE argument we were having. When I say Britt is a great wrestler, I don't know that she does. Okay, I don't think she doesn't have the star power outside of wrestling that Sasha Banks has. I mean, look, Sasha Banks has done. She's Snoop's cousin. She's been on Mandalorian. She's been. She's again. Listen, by the way, and if you want to be an ass about it, without WWE, does she get that role? Probably not. I don't know. That's an argument for another day. I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't think, like, Paige, Saraya, she could go in the ring if she has no restrictions, right? She could go with her in the ring. I think so. But is she so far removed that she doesn't have the star power? I would say yes. Because if you want my argument, the needle ain't moved since Saraya's been there.
Nope. And the thing is, when Sasha Banks when they find out she's going to be on there on TV, everybody's going to tune in to see it.
Do you think
you want to see their ratings go up? Yes. They'll go over 1 million that night that they have her on TV. It's simple.
I don't know.
All your WWE people will tune in and say, well, let's see how she does here. Sasha's a star. This is a power play with WWE. WWE is in a situation where there are people that, with Vince not in control, they had to test the waters. They had to see. It was new management. They had to see how far they could go. And that's what we're seeing.
Let me ask you this, though,
Sasha's the first one.
You talking about, but will she be the next Punk? Like, the night she debuts, if everybody knows on Dynamite, they break 1 million, and then a week later, they're right back where they were.
Oh, yeah, but except she's talented.
No, I know, but I just meant
no, you're right. She'll bop the ratings, but nothing will keep ratings.
Because that's my thing.
You can't have the Sasha Banks show. You can't build the whole show about. So then what you'll do is you'll neglect all your other talent.
No, I don't think it matters if she's on there every week. I don't think it wouldn't. I don't know if it'd matter. I still have the stance that I'm not 100% sold. There's anybody that's the real, like, when it comes to TV ratings, I don't know that there is I told you, and I stand behind it. We're going to find out Friday. When John Cena's on SmackDown, if that number doesn't move a whole lot, I stand by that opinion that I think wrestling's where it's at. I don't know that there's one person that's big enough to move that number anymore on a nightly basis. Like, sure, oh, hey, somebody's going to debut, and you announce it ahead of time, you spike the rating, and then guess what? If you go right, I stand behind. If the number goes right back, then it didn't really do anything. You popped the rating one night, whippity freaking do. That doesn't help you in your long-term advertising sales because they're going to look at the consistency and say, this is what you consistently get. So it doesn't matter. And I think the network's probably smart enough to realize that too, because they always hear like, oh, we're going to do this and pop a rating or whatever. It's like, okay, but if you don't keep it, it doesn't matter. Because guess what?
So
if she pops the rating by coming out and somebody watches your entire show and they don't like your entire show, guess what they don't do next week? They don't come back to you watch your show next week. And I hate to tell people, the WWE fan, by the way, this is going to work both ways, by the way. The WWE fan typically is not a big fan of AEW. And the AEW fan's not typically a big fan of WWE. Now, there's a crossover there. Because AEW fan, in my argument, the AEW fan that watches WWE, they're the diehard wrestling fan that just watches all of wrestling. They don't care. Mm-hmm. The casual fan flips on AEW, and it's not for them. And that's okay, but it's not for them, and they don't watch. Because they don't care about 30-minute, 5-star matches. So that's the trap. My problem, Sasha Banks going back there, if she wants to wrestle in America and she's not going to eat the crow from WWE to go back, yes, I think that's where she goes. The problem is it going to fall right into the problem that I want to address next. She's going to go straight to the top of the card, shove everybody down a peg, and then we go right into this whole thing of where we're talking about, did you see, like in an interview recently, Tony Khan addressed the fact about underutilized talents in AEW? His basic quote was, you can't make everybody happy all the time. Which, by the way, is accurate.
Yeah. But if you wouldn't hire everyone, you'd have a better chance of making the people you had happy. That's just my take on it. Does that not make sense? If you didn't keep bringing in people for these ridiculous salaries. I was before the show, I meant to send the picture to Nick. There's a picture of Tony Khan standing in front of a Christmas tree. Beautiful Christmas tree. I swear to God, that was not his Christmas tree. It was probably his parents' Christmas tree. I doubt he had his own Christmas tree. It's just like he's a spoiled child. I'm sorry. I don't think Tony Khan could keep anybody. I know he can't keep these people happy because he keeps bringing them in for ridiculous salaries and there's nothing to do with them. Okay? No, just you can't make everyone happy. You can't build a giant women's division and then not have a place to wrestle with them. You can't bring in all these talent from overseas and not have something to do for them. You can't bring in everybody who leaves the WWE. You cannot hire every single person that leaves the WWE and then expect to have something to do for them every night. There's not enough room. You got to start running house shows. Great idea, actually. Get these people out here. But it was funny. Meltzer talking about, they should run house shows. They could use QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes to develop talent. Well, hell, QT Marshall's running house shows now with AEW.
Yeah, when you told me that, that's floored me. That I'm like, do you guys not realize? Listen, I get it. Look, GPW district. We talked about district, championship district wrestling, right? We talk about how they're running shows or whatever. Dude, I get it. It's filled with nightmare kids getting experience. Yes. GPW, the same thing. They're all over
bringing
here.
in AEW people.
Yes.
It's a phenomenal time to be a wrestling fan in the Atlanta metro area. Okay? Because these guys are all these AEW guys are getting peppered in on house shows all over the place.
I totally could kick myself. I mean, look, we knew with the holidays and we knew with everything. I really wanted to go to that show on the 18th. I wanted to see QT tag up with Billy Gunn, but We've got so much holiday stuff going on between work and families and all that kind of stuff going on that we couldn't make it. And I could kick myself. That's what somebody asked me again. You talk about it. We had an opportunity to go to the WWE show tonight when we're recording. It's Tuesday, but to go to that show and I couldn't go. I've got family stuff tonight. So it's just on and on and on. And it's, by the way, I'm thankful we have all of this stuff going on, at the holidays. But look, at the beginning of December, I said, I won't be able to attend another wrestling show over the weekends or anything until January because I've got so much stuff going on.
And the start of January blows up.
Yeah.
The first weekend of January is going to be insane, and I cannot wait.
Are you off that weekend by chance?
Yes, 7th, 8th, and 9th. I'm off, and I cannot be happier. Now, the next weekend, I'm upset because I want to go to PCW so bad, and I'm working that weekend.
What was the Sunday show? Oh, yeah, we were talking about,
Sunday was, the show with Jimmy Jacobs.
Yeah. by the way, in the middle of our show, totally off subject, shout out and, thoughts, prayers, all that stuff to Nick Halen. We saw he suffered a concussion at Anarchy. So, I just wanted to say shout out because I thought about it because he was on the poster for the show that Sunday that we were talking about going to. I think so.
Nick Halen's become one of my favorite wrestlers. Nick Halen has become super important to the Georgia scene. He's on more cards than ever right now. I can't imagine what it's going to be without him. And he's a super nice guy, too. Please get well soon, Nick, and take care of yourself.
Depends on what building you run into him, right?
Brain problems are a big problem.
Yeah. So anyway, hey, get well soon, Nick. We hope to see you back in the ring sometime soon. Yeah. And much love to Nick Halen. We know he likes to listen to the show too. So we wish him
my advice
the best.
Until you're 100% better is don't ever be naked, because you never know what will happen. And somebody might
drugged
find
through the
naked.
house in like a burrito, right? Is that what you said?
Yes, you'll be drugged through the house on a blanket like I was, butt-ass naked. So yes, wear clothes at all, except for a shower. I guess you could shower with naked, but don't wear clothes. I mean, wear clothes everywhere else.
Yep. But let's move on to another hot topic. Yes. One of the things that came up this week is was it Rich Swann that put out his Impact?
Rich Swann, yes. And this was a great topic, but I couldn't be far. And he was there. I got to give Rich this. He was there, but it couldn't be farther from my and Nick answers to this whole thing, because me and Nick had a very similar answer.
Did you have any before we reveal who we had? How many did you have different?
One? No, I didn't have anybody different.
Oh, we had the same.
I didn't have anybody different because it had to be the same. You could have figured one guy. There's one guy you could have figured in there, but he was kind of like.
My thing was, who do you take off?
Of yours?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think we are in agreement even on the other guy that you could have argued in. But our argument was,
there's nobody you could take off. There's nobody you could take off. The guy you could figure in would be Hogan, in my opinion.
Oh no, then we weren't the same one.
Who would you figure in?
Samoa Joe. I could argue the Samoa Joe argument.
Okay. Well, let's tell them what we're talking about before we get any farther.
The Impact Mount Rushmore. We're going to go through, and let's go person by person if you want to. Listen, I am fully going to put out there that I am totally, over the last year, maybe or so, since my world started, I've become a Jeff Jarrett, Mark, diehard, through and through. I've had the pleasure of meeting him a couple times. He's a great guy. I mean, which is weird. Because we all remember it. Like, it's funny. Conrad makes the joke on the podcast all the time, and it's 100% accurate. He was the human fast forward button. Like, we hated him. Like, we were like, he's terrible, blah, blah, blah. He was doing his job so well, we hated him.
Yes.
And
yes.
I don't understand how anybody makes an Impact Mount Rushmore and Jeff Jarrett's not on it. Like, he is absolutely the first.
Twice. He was financially responsible for Impact twice, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, Jeff Jarrett built Impact, and he's like, so that's my argument, hand down, because he can't. It's like saying there's no WWE Mount Rushmore without Vince McMahon. Really? Like, but that's kind of the same argument to me. Not to mention, by the way, during the lean years when he had to, he was the champion. Like, he carried, he was like the guy that was the face of the company, not just behind the scenes, but in front of the camera. And he knew when it was time to walk away. Like, as far as like to get out from in front of the camera, put somebody else out in front of the camera as champion, blah, 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 blah. Now, number two's got to be AJ Styles, right? Because he's like immediately in my brain, the wrestler. He was like, he was the face that, built the place or whatever you want to call it in there.
Yeah. Got to. AJ Styles, to me, when you think of impact, he had the most impact of anyone ever stepped foot in that company. There's other guys, Scott Hall was there. All the great talent was there, but AJ Styles,
I think those guys, they come through like passing through, grabbing a check. And I'm not knocking it. That's not an insult. That's just my take. One of Impact's go-to catchphrases was homegrown talent.
Yes.
AJ Styles is the poster boy for the homegrown talent of Impact who went on, he's one of the, and this is a hard argument. And if you disagree with me, tappedoutpod@gmail.com, fire away. I've always said, how they talk about how Dixie Carter, blah, 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 TNA, Impact, LOL, whatever. If there's no Impact, is there an AJ Styles? And everybody goes, of course there would have been. Are you 100% sure about that? Because he has to have been given a chance. If he doesn't go from Wildside, and then get a run over there, I mean, does he get it with WCW? I mean, that was back maybe. That's what I mean. There's too much maybe there to say definitively. Because listen, wrestling.
It's not a cut on AJ.
No. Wrestling is totally. By the way, any independent wrestler out there today will tell you it's not just about how talented you are. You've got to have opportunity. There's some luck involved, and I know everybody's like, "Well, luck is nothing but hard work." No, every now and then it's about who you know, and
just plain luck,
getting a chance, getting an opportunity. And I don't know that AJ Styles gets that opportunity without Impact. Does he? Maybe. Again, but you can't say he does. Well, he'll go to New Japan. Really? Like, how does he get there? Like, is that something he wanted to do? So those, and he would have got a chance in WWE. Maybe. There's a lot of maybes there. But he is so that's why he's on my Mount Rushmore, is because I think he's the poster boy for the homegrown talent, that went on to do way more stuff. But, here's the crazy one. People don't often think about this, and I don't even know, I don't know if you know this. Kurt Angle's my next one. Kurt Angle wrestled longer in Impact than he did in WWE.
I did not know that.
Yes, his actually in-ring career was longer in Impact than it was now, and then it was in WWE, like as far as length of time. So when everybody talks about how he's a Hall of Famer, I'm like, he's on the Mount Rushmore, because to me, him and the next guy we'll address in a minute legitimized, like, he was to me one of the first WWE guys to come to Impact. And to me, that gave them some credibility and, legitimacy by coming over.
Well, he was at a spot, he was at a spot where he still had active time left in his career. He wasn't like Hogan dragging out there, basically, where they had to, I said Hogan should be on this Mount Rushmore. Hogan was, he was wasted at this time. He wasn't up to old Hogan. He wasn't even up to WCW Hogan. He was old. It's just, it was past his time. He was just there for his name, his appearance. Kurt Angle went out there and actually did something, and that's impressive. So I got to give it to him on that.
Yeah, I mean, that was like a sign of like Jarrett on his podcast has said, Angle was the guy he knew I could take the belt off myself, put it on him, I could go away and we wouldn't miss a beat. Like, we would be better, because now Kurt can go out there and wrestle Joe and Styles and et cetera, and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I think Kurt Angle easily goes on that. The last one is the one everybody, like a lot of people wanted to argue, Samoa Joe, blah, blah, blah. Look, to me, it's Sting. Which is crazy where we are today, because what I'm about to say makes no sense in context as far as where he's at today. To me, like, I think Sting was even paid for by Spike. I don't even think he was like a TNA paycheck. Because Jared always talks about, like, every time his contract came up, it was always like, hey, do we want to keep Sting? Well, hell yeah, we want to keep Sting, but can we afford Sting? That was always the conversation whenever revolves around Sting. Why do I think Sting to me was the icon level that moved there. Kurt was still, got to remember, he was at the top. He was he was a main event guy in WWE, but he wasn't like icon level Sting. And this was God, how many years ago? And now we have Sting in AEW, right? I think Sting, because he doesn't wrestle like he did in Impact, but that's where I think his credibility was. Him coming in there was another sign that like it gave them that instant
They're
credibility.
a real company. They're a real wrestling company.
Correct.
Because you got Sting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did some really cool stuff there, by the way. People always forget because they want to, again, I think when you start, I think one of the advantages for me talking to like other wrestling fans is I will say, if you're always the guy that says TNA LOL, go try to legitimately, and not as a dick, but legitimately go make your Mount Rushmore of Impact. And when you start thinking about it, you will see guys who did some really good stuff there. Mm-hmm. Like, was there bad stuff? Yes. But I assure you, I can take your promotion that you're a big fan of, WWE, AEW, whatever, and drag out some stuff that's not so, beautiful that it's done in the past. But I would love to know, I would love to know what Lewis is a big fan of Impact. I would love to know who his Mount Rushmore is. I would love to know, all of the Impact fans, what their Mount Rushmore is for Impact. tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Let us know what your thoughts, and that's me personally. That's mine. And you said you pretty much agreed. Is that correct?
I would have to agree 100% on that. If we were to knock people off, the replacing ones we might argue of, but that's by far the best one I've seen. So there's no way to argue with it.
Look, is it debatable? Sure, all lists and Mount Rushmores are debatable, but that's why I encourage you to send yours in as well. Who knows? Maybe we'll do some more of that stuff.
I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, Siri doesn't understand what I'm trying to say. But hey, look, the most important thing before we get out of here, we're going to come back. I got a special segment that I'm going to tease. But before we get to that segment, I want to remind everybody, make sure you're going over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. By the way, now you can do handles on YouTube. Guess what it is, Myron? You got to guess?
Tapped Out Pod?
Tapped Out Pod. That is correct.
Wow.
You can always search us at Tapped Out Podcast Network on there as well. Make sure, look, we get it. There's tons of you guys out there who are podcast listeners, and we greatly appreciate you, whether you're listening to us on, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartMedia, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Podbean, radio.com, blah, blah, blah. Anywhere and everywhere there's a podcast platform, we're on it. Just check us out. Make sure you're subscribing so that way you get everything. I've actually made a New Year's resolution, Myron, that I may on occasion slip out some of the non-wrestling content on the podcast feed. So if you are, make sure you're subscribing and you're not just checking in on it once a week on Tuesday, because I may start sliding some of the sports stuff in there. It's not going to be everything. If you want everything, you got to be a subscriber over on the YouTube channel. That's where everything's going to be. Amen. Which leads me into our last thing I want to discuss, because here we are, Myron. This show's airing on the 28th. We are recording on December 27th, and we are recording at 11:06 is when I'm making this comment. We're going to discuss our official college football playoff picks. We've got the big games coming up this weekend: Ohio State versus UGA, TCU versus Michigan, and then, of course, down the road will be the championship. But I wanted to go ahead and make our picks, get it all in the bag, because, Myron, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. I've changed my picks. I've done some more research. I've done some more digging. I've changed my picks from a couple of weeks ago when I pulled the trigger, got too happy, and was like, bam, 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 and ran out what I thought. And since I've done some thinking, I've changed my mind. So I'm going to give you the first picks. Give me your picks for the college football playoffs.
You want me to pick it all the way? You want me to
pick it all the way through, and then I'll come behind with mine.
Ohio State versus UGA. I picked the University of Georgia, and I am by no means biased as a University of Georgia alumni. TCU versus Michigan. I picked Michigan. I think they're the better team in this. Then I will pick UGA versus Michigan. UGA wins the national championship.
You're not biased.
And you disagree. Not biased, not partial?
I am not disagreeing to an extent.
Okay.
Hear me out. Everybody's going to go like, oh, you're hedging your bets. No. In the grand scheme of things, I essentially agree with you 100%. UGA will beat Ohio State, Michigan will beat TCU, and Georgia will beat Michigan in the national championship. I think we get a repeat national championship. My only caveat that I want to add to this is Ohio State scares me a little bit. My take on this whole spiel is the winner of the Ohio State-Georgia game will win the national championship. If Ohio State manages to pull off the win and they do beat Georgia and Michigan wins and we get an Ohio – listen, by the way, if you want to talk about things being rigged and booked, I think that's what college football wants. I think they want Ohio State and Michigan in the national championship game because they're going to get their rematch. And by the way, Michigan, you don't want no part of that because Ohio – it's hard to beat the same team twice in a season. It's very hard to.
Yeah, Georgia and Alabama last year.
Shit happens, man. And I'm just telling you for a fact. If Ohio State wins, I think they fucking handle Michigan too. I think Michigan got them on their. I think Michigan got Ohio State. They caught them off guard. They got them on their heels, and they never recovered. I think Ohio State can handle them a second time. So all of my eggs are in the Ohio State UGA game. That is essentially your championship because the winner of that game will go on and beat Michigan. Because, by the way, for all you TCU fans who are going to go like, you're not giving us any love and any credit. No, I'm not. I think Michigan handles you. I mean, literally. So that's my take on it. But yes, the only team that scares me out of the bunch is Ohio State. I think if they can, they have the, I think because of their passing game, I think they are the ones who has the chance. I don't think the other two with the run games, I think Georgia matches up well with that. The passing game of Ohio State makes me nervous a little bit because UGA has shown moments where they're a little soft in the passing game.
Yeah. They're either really good or soft. They're not like kind of in the middle, from my opinion, of what I've seen of their passing game. Of course, I hardly ever get to watch a damn game anymore. But I will be home in time to watch that game, and then I will get to see the big gender reveal for your next grandchild. Yeah. Yes.
Yep, that'll be on. We're gonna do that. Well, it won't be here. Obviously, we'll watch it on Facebook Live, but gonna be for number. So I think we told the story that we went from having 3 grandchildren to a marriage threw us to 7, and now we're getting gender reveal on number 8. So yeah, we grew quick. But man, look, we didn't even talk about Christmas. How was your Christmas before we get out of here?
It was good. It was real good.
Listen, full disclosure, man. Let's be honest with everybody. We're not the biggest Christmas people on the planet.
Hate Christmas. I do hate Christmas with a passion. I worked retail my entire life, and that's a horrible place to be at Christmas. I introduced my daughter to working retail. Apparently, she got to cry working at Ulta over Christmas. So the problem was, I got real upset Christmas Day when I realized I hadn't bought my girlfriend anything. But I had just forgotten. That's the problem with this.
The problem with the seizures, you forget things.
Problem with the seizures and the seizure medication, I forgot some stuff. And I did purchase some stuff. I just forgot I purchased it. So that was, but it worked out real well. I got some nice comfy slippers that I'm wearing, and some Amazon gift cards to buy more stuff to enhance the podcast feed. And yeah, I'm pretty happy. How about you, Nick? Did you do okay?
Dude, I have turned the corner on Christmas. I have for decades. Again, it was working in retail for decades. I was not a big Christmas guy at all. Luckily I've been out of it now for about 5 years. I've been over 5 years, coming up on that anniversary. So I've actually, believe it or not, this year I made a hard pressed effort that I said I wasn't going to be a dick over Christmas. And my wife even made a point to come out and say, hey, I just wanted to say you did really good this year with Christmas. That you weren't an asshole at any point. I said, yeah.
Wow.
So we had 16 people here on Christmas Eve. For our we had a lunch and presents and games and stuff. And Christmas Day, me and the wife spent Christmas together, just the two of us.
Oh, nice.
So that worked out really well. So it went well. Look, the wife and I, we decided, because we did our big trip and everything, we were like, hey, look, we didn't do presents between each other. We just did it all for the kids and the grandkids and all that kind of stuff. So I think everybody was happy overall. So turned out pretty good. Yeah. We're going to recover from work stuff. And, I've got a couple more of those things to go. And then, like you said, the gender reveals and blah, 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 all that crazy stuff. that it'll all work itself out, and we will be good to go and fired up after the new year to get ready to roll. And I think we are. We're going to have a full weekend that weekend, hopefully. We'll see. We'll see if we can make all 3 shows. If not, definitely I want to hit the doubleheader with Southern Honor and Southern Fried for sure.
Oh, yes. That's always a great weekend. Always a great weekend.
Yeah.
It's good, folks. I'm glad y'all have stayed with us through another year of this wonderful, wonderful experience. It's always great to do this. It's always great to meet our fans. It's always great to get our friends, because all of our fans are our friends. Thank you. I hope everyone has a happy new year. Have an extra drink for me. And if you got anything else, Nick?
Well, man, I don't have anything else. So what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.